The stage lights glowed softly across the enormous hall, the crowd buzzing with excitement, the judges settling into their seats. And in that electric atmosphere, a young Filipino boy stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage with a quiet confidence that didn't match his small frame. His slicked-back hair shining under the spotlights, his suit inspired by the classic Elvis era, and his hands slightly shaking as he held the microphone. Yet his eyes full of determination, as if he had traveled across the world for this one moment, this one chance, this one dream he carried deep inside his heart. The audience looked at him curiously, whispering among themselves, wondering what kind of performance a boy so young, so gentle-looking could possibly deliver. And the judges leaned forward, preparing themselves, expecting something soft, something innocent, something ordinary, unaware that the next few minutes would turn into one of the most unforgettable moments the AGT stage had ever witnessed. He introduced himself in a shy but polite voice, telling them his name, his age, and that he came all the way from the Philippines, with his parents who were standing backstage, with trembling hands and hopeful eyes, holding each other tightly, knowing how much this performance meant for their son, how hard he had practiced, how many nights he stayed awake rehearsing, studying old Elvis performances, perfecting every gesture, every note, every movement, because for him, Elvis wasn't just an icon. He was an escape from hardship, a dream, a spark that kept him believing that even a kid from a small town could shine on the biggest stage in the world. The judges smiled, nodding as they listened, and Simon looked at him with that intense, curious expression he always gives before he discovers something extraordinary, something rare, something unexpected. The music started a soft, classic guitar intro, calm, smooth, familiar, and the boy took a breath, preparing to sing, but just 10 seconds into the performance, before he even reached the first chorus. Simon suddenly raised his hand, stopping everything, stopping the music, stopping the boy mid-line, stopping the audience, who gasped in shock, unsure if something had gone wrong, unsure whether Simon was disappointed, unsure if this Filipino boy's dream had just ended, right in front of thousands of people. The room went silent, so silent, that the boy could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his chest, so silent that even backstage his parents froze, their smiles fading into worry, and the boy stood there with his small hands gripping the microphone, trying not to cry, trying not to break, trying to understand why Simon had stopped him so quickly. Simon leaned forward, eyes sharp, voice serious, and said in the most unexpected tone, "I'm going to be honest with you. This song is too easy for you, too safe, too soft. And I don't think it shows your real power, your real voice, your real Elvis." The crowd reacted with a mixture of shock and confusion, murmuring, wondering what would happen next. Whether the boy would be sent home or given another chance, and the boy swallowed hard, trying to stay composed, trying to breathe, his heart twisting with fear, because being stopped by Simon Cowell wasn't a small thing. It was terrifying, it was heavy. It was the kind of moment that could break a young performer's confidence forever. But then Simon asked him a question that changed everything. "Do you have something stronger?" "Something bigger. Something that will show us who you really are." The boy nodded slowly, his voice trembling, but bold enough to say yes. He had something else, something he practiced secretly, something he hadn't planned to perform today, because it was harder, higher, more demanding, but it was the song he loved the most, the one he believed could truly reveal the Elvis inside him, the soul of rock and roll he carried with him since childhood. Simon leaned back, smiled lightly, and told the sound team to switch tracks. And in that moment, the tension in the room doubled, the air thickening with anticipation, the audience leaning forward in their seats, the judges exchanging curious glances. And backstage, his parents whispered prayers under their breath, hoping, begging, wishing for a miracle. Then the next song started louder, faster, bolder, a true Elvis classic. And when the boy opened his mouth this time, the entire hall froze, because what came out wasn't the voice of a child. It wasn't the shaky tone from earlier. It was deep, powerful, filled with rhythm and emotion, as if Elvis himself had stepped into his body for a moment, guiding his every note, every movement, every gesture. His voice had grit, groove, soul, and when he hit the first high note, with surprising strength and control, the audience erupted cheering almost instantly. Shocked by the transformation, shocked by the confidence he suddenly radiated, shocked by how a small Filipino boy could deliver such a huge, electrifying performance. The judges watched in disbelief as he moved across the stage with natural charisma, swinging the microphone like a seasoned performer, hitting each note with precision, shaking his leg in true Elvis style, stamping his foot to the beat, letting the music flow through him like a fire he couldn't contain. Every second, every moment, every vibration of his voice felt like pure entertainment, pure passion, pure heart, and the crowd couldn't get enough. They clapped, they screamed, they stood from their seats, and the camera cut to Simon, who had gone from serious and skeptical to wide-eyed and impressed, his jaw slightly open, his expression full of surprise, as if he had just discovered a future star. In front of him, the boy kept singing, stronger and stronger with each verse, his confidence growing, as the audience responded to every move, every vocal flip, every classic Elvis-style shout he threw into the song. His parents backstage started crying, tears streaming down their cheeks as they watched their son shine brighter than ever, watched him command the world's biggest stage with a power they had never seen in him before, watched him living the dream he had chased since he was old enough to hold a microphone. And when he reached the bridge of the song, hitting a long, powerful note that echoed across the hall, the entire audience exploded into applause, some people even standing on their chairs, unable to contain the excitement, the joy, the disbelief. When the song finally ended, the boy struck a final Elvis pose, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling, tears forming in his eyes as the entire auditorium rose to their feet, giving him a standing ovation, so loud, so full of energy, so overwhelming that he almost fell to his knees from the emotional weight of the moment. The judges stood as well, clapping, smiling, shocked, amazed, and Simon, the same Simon who stopped him just minutes ago, was now applauding with a proud smile, shaking his head as if he still couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. When the applause finally settled, Simon leaned into his microphone and said, "Now that is what I was waiting for. That is what I knew you had inside you." That was unbelievable. The audience cheered again, louder than before, and the boy wiped his tears with the back of his hand, smiling, shyly overwhelmed, grateful, almost unable to speak. Then each judge gave their comments praising his voice, his control, his transformation. But it was Simon's words that hit the hardest, that made the entire room fall silent again. "You didn't just sound like Elvis. You felt like Elvis. You performed like a star. And I think you deserve something special today." Those words alone sent a wave of excitement through the room, the audience sensing what was about to happen, the boy's parents covering their mouths in disbelief, and the boy himself stepping back in shock as Simon stood up from his chair, his hand moving toward the golden buzzer, the entire hall rising in anticipation. Everything slowed down, the lights brightened. The confetti machines warmed up, the music built in the background, and with one powerful slam on the golden buzzer, the world exploded in gold, confetti, raining from above like a storm of dreams and miracles, covering the boy, covering the stage, covering everything in sparkling hope. The boy dropped to his knees, crying uncontrollably, his parents rushing onto the stage, hugging him tightly, their tears mixing with the golden confetti, their hearts full of pride, full of gratitude, full of disbelief that a small boy from the Philippines, a young Elvis fan with a big dream, had just earned the most coveted reward on America's Got Talent. The audience screamed, cheering endlessly, clapping with all their strength, celebrating a moment that would be remembered for years, a moment that would surely go viral across the world, a moment where Filipino talent once again proved its power, its heart, its magic. Simon walked up to the stage, bent down and whispered something to the boy, something viewers could not fully hear, but the boy nodded through tears, smiling, clutching the golden confetti in his small hands, as if holding pieces of destiny itself. It was clear Simon wasn't just impressed. He was moved, touched by the courage the boy showed, by the transformation he witnessed. by the passion that filled the stage, and by the fact that even after being stopped, even after being pushed into a more difficult performance, the boy rose higher, stronger, braver than anyone expected. The rest of the night felt surreal. Backstage, everyone congratulated him. From contestants to producers to crew members, and the judges continued praising him, even off-camera calling him a future star. A global talent, a kid with an old soul and a golden voice. The video of his audition spread instantly, gathering millions of views within hours, trending across platforms, especially in the Philippines, where people celebrated him as the new pride of the nation, sharing clips of his performance, reacting emotionally, cheering for him and calling him the Filipino Elvis. And through all of this, the boy remained humble, thanking everyone, thanking his parents, thanking the judges, thanking Simon for stopping him. Because that stop, that unexpected interruption, became the opening to the greatest performance of his life, the moment that changed everything, the moment that gave him his golden chance. And as the night ended, as he held the golden confetti, he kept in his pocket as a souvenir. He whispered to himself in a soft voice, "This is just the beginning." And with that belief glowing in his heart, he walked toward his future, ready to shine even brighter in the next round, ready to prove that Filipino talent, once given the stage, can shock the world again and again, just like he did tonight.